no. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Bronco Nation? Happy Monday, new week, and we're thankful you're kicking it off with us here at Bronco Nation News. My name is BJ Rains. We got Mike Prater, host of Prater in the Ballgame, KTIK 95.3, The Ticket, also our columnist at BNN every Monday. Mike Prater starts his week off as you do right here at Bronco Nation News. Mike, appreciate it for joining us again. How we doing, sir?
I'm doing well. It's always a little pesky, always a little risky on a Monday morning how you're doing, but so far so good. It was a good weekend. Hope everybody had a beautiful Mother's Day weekend and not a bad day outside. Let's get after it today, my friend.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We're in the middle of our top 25 series, looking at the 25 most important players to the Boise State football team in 2025. And I got to tell you first, Mike, I don't know how much travel ball your travel sports your kids did growing up, but we had our first travel tournament for baseball over the weekend. We've done a lot of tournaments and summer baseball. We've never done the out-of-town trip, and that was we drove to the Tri-Cities area and played in a tournament over there, the Bombs for Moms Mother's Day tournament over there in the Tri-Cities area. And I gotta tell you, didn't get much sleep. Kids sharing beds in a room, and it was one of those kind of weekends. But shout out to my son. I'm going to brag on my son. They won the tournament, so first place in the Bombs for Moms 10U AA division, and got a little bit of hardware. And my son played pretty well and came back with a ring, and we had a good Mother's Day. Mother got to see her son win a championship here.
Nice. That's always good for mom. Nicely done. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a fun tournament, fun weekend. Shout out to the boys. They played well. And, travel baseball. Went to Tri-Cities area. We were in Leon Rice's old stomping grounds. He gave me his old address and said, humble beginnings. Go check out my old house. And I didn't make it over there, but he did give us a donut recommendation and somewhere else that we did a mini golf place we did go check out. So we were back in the Tri-Cities area and got back late last night. But kudos to my son, and pretty nice little rings here. There's the ring right there. So They got the tournament championship, and now we're on to bigger and better things this summer. But way to go, Naismith. So, all right, Mike, we're doing our top 25 list. I want to. You came on last week, and we were joking that we had nothing to talk about, and I said, you know what? I think we're supposed to start the series next week, but after we got off the show, I started backtracking for Mountain West Media Days, and I said, oh crap, we should have started it today. So we started it the next day on Tuesday. We caught back up. We did 2 in one day to get us back on track. So we are at number 20 today, and we'll get to that in a second. But I first wanted to give you a chance. I didn't tell you I was doing this, but I'm going to the 5 we did last week. I was just going to run through these, and if you have any thoughts on any of these 5, feel free to chime in. But 25 was Max Steege, the defensive end. 24 was Chris Marshall, the wide receiver. 23 was Oscar Doyle, the new punter from Weber State. 22 was Colton Boomer, the new kicker from UCF. And then Caleb Annett, number 21, the backup quarterback. Probably have Caleb Annett too low, but you just don't know if Maddox Madsen's going to get hurt or not. Obviously, if he gets hurt, Caleb Annett should be in the top 5. But any thoughts on Max Steege, Chris Marshall, Colton Boomer, Oscar Doyle, or Caleb Annett, our first week? The top are number 25 and number 21 most important players on the team here.
Yeah, and we're kind of doing, it's kind of interesting from my perspective, from our perspective over here at Idaho Sports Talk. We're doing the same kind of deal. We've both done the same series over the last couple of years, and we had Max Steege in our most important. We do top 15 going into spring camp, but we took him out of our list going out of spring camp because of the additions of and some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So, I don't know about 25, but certainly he popped out of our top 25. Chris Marshall's going to make our top 15 just because he's the one wide receiver that can be the surprise. I don't think there's any wide receiver on this team that's going to surprise me. I think we all understand where all these wide receivers are coming from. Can Chris Marshall be a bust? Can Chris Marshall be a rock star? Can Chris Marshall be somewhere in between? That's kind of the intriguing factor from him. I think you got Boomer and Doyle, the kicker and punter, coming in later on this summer, probably about a month from now, they'll join the team. I think you got those guys about right. And I do agree with you. I think Caleb Annett, and we kind of cheated over here at Idaho Sports Talk. We made quarterback 2, I think 15th or 14th on our list based on just Maddox Madsen, not the way he plays or not any worries about him. But in this day and age, as you know, BJ, it's hard to get through an entire season with one quarterback. And here comes Caleb Annett in the spring, kind of the unknown guy from a couple of years ago. Making big charges. We think he might be QB2 right now, depending on how things work out in fall camp. So I thought he might have been a little bit too low, but I think for the most part, you guys are off. And the beautiful thing about these lists, it creates all these kinds of conversations, and I love it.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, if we had a crystal ball in terms of injuries and things like that, that would certainly probably change this list in a big way. But either way, we probably had QB2 a little too low on that list because I think Maddox Madsen, we've talked a lot about it. I'm a little concerned there that he's one play away from this season with such huge high expectations, relying on a guy that hasn't taken a snap for Boise State football. So I still think QB2 is very, very important. And Caleb Annett was number 21 on our list. You can go back BroncoNationNews.com and read Nathan Carroll's article about Caleb Annett and the first week of players over there at BroncoNationNews.com. All right. Number 20, an intriguing guy here on our list, Mike Prater. We're going to the defensive line. We're going to the transfer portal, and we're going David Latu, the BYU transfer, coming in and looking like he's slated to start along that defensive line. That's been a big storyline all, spring camp, the defensive line. Everybody they lost there, trying to replace a lot of interior, guys there, a lot of depth. They went and hit the transfer portal pretty hard. David Latu looks like the headliner in terms of the transfer portal additions there on the interior of the defensive line. If Braxton Feely had not returned, David Latu probably would have been 6, 7, 8 spots higher. But David Latu, we'll get into some of the numbers here in his past. But your initial thoughts, the BYU transfer originally started at Snow College, 2 years at BYU, and he comes over here with some experience at the the Big 12 level, and now he comes in here at number 20 on the BNN list of the 25 most important players.
Yeah, I'm not going to, so far as to say that he comes over here with Big 12 experience because I think he only played a couple of games. He really wasn't that much of an impact player at BYU, but here's the word experience comes into play. Dude, go back and look at his bio. He played high school his last year of high school football was 2017. For guys like you and me, that was like 40 pounds ago. It's 2017. That makes him 24, 25 years old. he might be the oldest player on this roster. We'll check that when we get more access to these guys. And even if he's 23, he's still one of the oldest players, if not the oldest player on this roster. And these Poly guys that come in, and he's a Northern Utah guy out of Bountiful, just north of Salt Lake City. Went to Snow College before going back to BYU. Sometimes these Poly guys come in at 24 years old, but, in maturity-wise, they're 26, 27. I think he's a big, strong beast, a mature beast. And this is exactly the storyline that Spencer Danielson is looking for when he talks about a developmental programming going through spring. He came here, he went through spring ball. He was just kind of a name on a piece of paper. Feely leaves, and all of a sudden, Boise State's defensive line, the interior, not only do you have to worry about Steege on the outside, you got JVM on one side. That's a rock-solid start right there. But on the inside, you got to worry about Madry and Latu as your inside guys. That was a big, big concern. Now, all of a sudden, Feely's back, and Latu has developed himself, and Madry got a lot of love by the coaches in the spring. So they have 3 dudes now, and I know we're not going to get into the mechanics of this position and how interchangeable the 2 interior guys are, but they have 3 guys that I think are pretty rock solid to start. Maybe if they can develop one more through August and camp, I think a massive position of concern all of a sudden becomes a pretty good position. I'm not going to go with strength, but certainly back to even and a position that you can probably depend on and rely on for a course of a regular season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, I will break in with a little breaking news, Mike Prater. We'll get back to the D-line talk here in just a second. That has just been announced. It will be a 1:30 Mountain Time kickoff, 1:30 Mountain Time on Peacock for the Boise State Notre Dame game, an afternoon game on Saturday.
Yeah, that's pretty typical for Notre Dame. I think we'd all been surprised if it was anything else. So good to lock that sucker in. I know a lot of people are making travel plans. You fly into Chicago, you drive to South Bend, you do your thing. So that makes it a little bit more concrete. But if it was NBC, I think it would have been a lock to be 1:30. I think that's how that works.
Peacock. I was thinking it might be a night game because it was Peacock. But yeah, the traditional afternoon start is on Peacock, but 2:30. I guess it'd be 3:30. Are they on Eastern time at Notre Dame? Is it 3:30?
I think they are Eastern time, but I'm not sure.
Either way, 1:30 back in Boise. Boise State at Notre Dame, Saturday, October 4th.
Nice.
That'll be 1:30 Mountain Time kickoff. All right. By the way, okay, so back to David Latu. He did play 12 games at BYU 2 years ago. Only played 3 last year, Mike Prater.
Yeah.
So I'll say 15 games when I said, Big 12 experience. But 12 games in 2023. Only 3 games last year before deciding to enter the transfer portal. And again, I'm looking at BroncoNationNews.com. Nathan Carroll with some numbers here. First of all, Mike Prater, ballpark, without looking, without guessing, any idea how many snaps Boise State's losing from the interior of the defensive line from last year?
The 2 positions?
Yes.
Let's say there's
there could be 2 on the same play theoretically if there's 2 guys.
Sure. I'm going to go 847.
Not a bad guess. 1,117. So
wow. That's a lot of numbers.
They lose 1,117. I would have guessed way lower. So 800 is not a bad guess at all. So they lose 1,117. We mentioned David Latu started at Snow College, and I think you mentioned it, but for folks that don't know, when you're talking about how old he is, he did go on the 2-year LDS mission. So 2-year mission is why he, and then went to the junior college. This is his 4th year of college. He has 2 years left as of now, Mike, but if they change that ruling on the JUCO, he theoretically could have 3 years still left of, I guess, in terms of eligibility left, or if there were the 5-year no redshirt, whatever they decide to do. He has 2 years, I believe. I don't know actually what's going on here.
But based on what I looked at, I think he does have 2 years, but nothing is confirmed these days. And if that's the case, I mean, this dude could be here till he's 27, 28 years old, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and I guess because last year he's played 3 years of college, but last year he redshirted. He only played 3 games and then decided to transfer and sit out the rest of the season. So last year doesn't count. So he does have, as of now, 2 years. If he gets the Snow College year back, he would have 3 years. So he was a junior college second team All-American at Snow College that year, and was a 3-star recruit. BYU, Washington State, Utah State were a couple of his offers. Went to BYU, and the first year there, 2 years ago, he played 175 snaps. So not a ton, but for a D lineman, 175 snaps, that's what, 15 a game? I mean, he was getting out there. He was getting out there in terms of some rotations. There was a lot of injuries, I guess, that year. He played 59% of his snaps on run plays, was mostly an early down run defender, according to the numbers from Nathan Carroll, but 0 quarterback pressures. So he wasn't a guy that was getting to the quarterback. He was just there to kind of clog things up in the middle and make some run, tackles in the run game. Again, a game against Iowa State was his best game at BYU. He had 2 tackles and a career-high 72.7 run defensive grade via Pro Football Focus. And then last year, as we said, played in just 3 games and decided to redshirt and transfer. And we'll see on the what happens with that extra year of eligibility. But 305 pounds, Mike Prater. So this is a one of those just big 300-pound defensive tackles that's just going to clog things up. And as I said, hasn't to this point shown that he's much of a pass rusher or getting, in the backfield, but he's going to clog things up and in the run game and try to limit things there for the opponents in the run game.
Yeah, and you always want a big bull rusher guy like that, a big, strong, physical guy to be able to kind of create the kind of leverage where you can push and get your way into the backfield and create chaos and beat up that pocket a little bit. But I'll take, that's kind of concerning when you say he's got that many snaps and he's had 0 pass rushes or pressures. But think of it this way, and this is exactly what Spencer Danielson and Shenander and their defensive crew really like at Boise State. Gums and Newton, did they even have a sack in the last year? I mean, if they did, it was 1. Maybe it was an accidental one. I don't remember those guys. I remember them getting some decent pressure just in terms of collapsing the pocket just because they were big, strong guys who were pushing people back. But I don't remember them getting a lot of sacks, if any at all. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. You certainly need to create pressure on the outside, and you can create pressure like Chins has with the nickel and other positions like that. So not too worried about that. Plug up that middle. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of the number 1 job responsibility. Just clog up the middle and don't let teams run on you and let the pressure come from the outside. I think this is, based on what you said, the exact perfect match for Spencer Danielson and Shenander's defense. So I kind of like that combination.
And speaking of perfect match, Nathan points out, and I don't want to give the whole article away here, so folks need to go to BroncoNationNews.com and read it, but Nathan does point out that he's actually a perfect match, perfect complement to play alongside Braxton Feely, because Braxton Feely does get to the quarterback and can get through and provide some pressure from the interior. So Feely can get that pressure in the interior, and Latu can clog things up there in the run game. And so maybe together they complement each other very well. But as I mentioned, Mike, it's not just about, we put Latu at number 20, but as you guys kind of did with your backup quarterback, we kind of could have just put all these new additions from the defensive line in together here at number 20. You've got Deion Washington as well. You've got Keanu Mailoto, and then you have the returners, Michael Madri and Lopez Sanusi. So I guess just the defensive tackle, interior, whether it's nose tackle, D tackle, whatever you want to, break it down, all those guys other than Braxton Feely, I think you could kind of put together as important pieces here.
Yeah, and Sanusi's getting some traction. He's the NFL Academy guy from England, and he's getting some traction, but that's been a slow process. If you could just get one of these guys to kind of rise up, because if you start with an inside rotation of Madri, Latu, and Feely, and I think that you're going to be able to start camp right there. I don't know how they're going to emerge out of camp, but I think you can start with those 3 guys in those 2 positions, and then and the names you mentioned, especially Sanusi, is a big one for me. So you don't need, you probably want 4 dudes, at least 4, minimum of 4 dudes that you can rotate in and out. That defensive line's a lot like, especially the interior, is a lot like a hockey line and a hockey rotation in terms of, you want to be able to shuffle in maybe a couple of series here, 2 guys, and then a couple of series here, 2 other guys. So they need at least 4. So that's the one job for me in fall camp, is to develop that 4th guy that you can depend on and see what happens. Maybe it's a backup to the nose tackle. Maybe it's a backup to the DT, or again, we'll keep a close eye on this in the fall in terms of how much these 2 positions are interchangeable. But Feely's the man. And if Feely hadn't come back, I can't imagine how much different this conversation we're having right now would be. So much different. That's the big rock star. I know we're focused on Latu, but it's a big, big part of the puzzle in terms of Feely. But Latu is a big part of it as well. I cannot wait to see where he grows and how much he gets better this fall camp and this season.
Yeah, no doubt. And, like I said, that defensive line, which, that's been a staple at Boise State for years, Mike. I mean, the Boise State traditionally has had a really good run defense, over time. They've had the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. There's been a year here and there that hasn't been great. But I would say if you go look the last, 15 years or 20 years kind of during this golden run here, more times than not, Boise State's rush defense, as you said, has been right up there in the top, I'd say 30 or 40. I'd say over half the time. And so in those guys, but I mean, they knew they had to go out and get guys. They knew this was coming. I mean, you knew you were losing Michael Callahan. You knew you were losing Gums, as you said, and Newton and these guys. So, I mean, it wasn't like they were caught off guard by this. The Feely one caught them off guard, but they knew the other guys were leaving. They identified some of these guys that they needed to do, and they went out and got them, and we'll trust them and see it. The unknown of these transfers and moving up in competition and all this kind of stuff is just different, and we'll see. But Sky Ship says, let Feely and Latu cook in the trenches. Rodney Robinson saying, now this, he's joking because it didn't happen this way, but he said Feely leaving for BYU was just a ploy. Danielson told him, hey, go grab David Latu and bring him back. Definitely what happened. I believe Latu was here all spring, so he committed way before he ever left. But don't sleep on Deion Washington. Sky says the DT, the Hawaii transfer, he made the game hell for Ashton and sacked Maddox. Deion Washington is a guy that was at Hawaii and I believe was at Nevada, right? I mean, he's got a lot of Mountain West experience and a lot of snaps. I mean, you could say, okay, he played for two bad teams, two bad defenses. I understand that, but in terms of it's kind of like, okay, what's better, the FCS guy that the lower level type person, or that maybe had better stats, or somebody that has playing experience at the Mountain West level? I think Deion Washington, again, didn't make our list, but he certainly is a guy that has experience, and you expect to come in here and be a reliable guy, to play some snaps.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep into this one because I don't really quite know for sure. We're certainly keeping an eye on him. We're not sleeping on him. As a matter of fact, going into spring, based on everything you just said, I had fairly decent expectations for Washington going into spring camp, but maybe you have a different perspective. But I don't remember a lot of buzz about this. I don't remember the coaches talking a lot about that. So, I don't sit there spending a lot of time at spring camp looking at number 2, number 3, number 4 rotation when it comes to that defensive line. Probably should spend more time there. So, we kind of depend on coaches and what they say. We have access to coaches and players every day. And every day, one of those conversations always focusing on who's getting buzz, who's getting better, who's creating all this kind of noise in spring camp. And I don't remember Washington's name coming up too much. So that doesn't mean anything. We'll go into fall camp and we'll kind of start over that whole process. And I love his experience. I have high expectations for that guy to definitely be in that rotation of 1 or 2, the first 2 guys, the first 2 waves of coming in on that defensive line. So I think Washington's a very big part of this puzzle.
Sky saying Latu, Feely, Deion trench rotation is going to be, and then a lot of emojis, bomb, hammer, or something else. So he's excited about that.
Love the emojis.
And Ben says Feely coming back was so big. Simpson leaving sucks, but replaceable. And we are going to get to Braxton Feely later on in this series, Mike, but him coming back, does shuffle everybody down one instead of Latu and Deion having to, Deion Washington having to start. That changes things a little bit. So, I mean, we'll get to Feely, but certainly this whole conversation here is a little different now that Feely's back.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I guarantee you that was personally and professionally that crushed Spencer Danielson. Because we saw it, we heard him talking about it, and he was disappointed. And we know the whole personal background and the whole personal history between Danielson and Feely's, and he was crushed and devastated. I guarantee you, when he got that phone call, hey, coach, I'd like to come back, is one of the, Spencer Danielson's gotten married and created a family, and those are always going to be number 1 for him. But that had to be one of his highlights as a football coach, getting that phone call back, what that meant to him personally, and more importantly, what that meant to the interior of this football team. At one point, the interior of this defense could have been the weakness on this entire football team. I'm not just talking about the defense, but the entire football team. If Michael Madry's your number 1 rock star coming into the interior defense, and that's kind of the way at one point it was looking when Feely left, that's big trouble. He comes back, all these pieces are starting to fit, everything's kind of in place. It was a big moment when he came back.
All right, we'll keep this discussion going here in just a second. If you do have a question or comment, defensive line related, or frankly anything Boise State related, put it in the chat. Mike Prater or I will get to it here in the final 15, 20 minutes of the show here. Anything Boise State, question, comment, whatever you got, we'll get to it here. But I do have another topic along the defensive line that I want to get to here in a second. But first, you're watching a free show here, folks, on social media, thanks to our great sponsors, including our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. There would be no Bronco Nation news without rowpaint.com. So please, folks, your next painting project, whether it's a concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, hit up our title sponsor. Tell them you heard about it on BNN. They'll hook you up with a great deal. I can connect you directly with Andy Rowe if you want to reach out. Rowpaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. TacoBellWorks.com. Taco Bell, folks, they're given more than $400,000 of student athlete scholarships at Boise State. They're doing a lot of work in the community. So return the favor. SON Management Group, the Nicolason family. The food's darn good as well, and they're hiring. So looking for a job, head into a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location. They got the paperwork for a job right there when you walk in on the table. So Taco Bell, visit a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location today. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. Idaho Central Credit Union, the Raines family, happy we made the switch. Didn't know what we were missing until we did, and I'm just so happy we did, and you will be as well. So many just small little things at ICCU that you didn't realize that you don't have at your other banking establishments. So make the switch today, ICCU.com. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game, locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Whether it's a sauna, whether it's a spa, whether it's a pool table, they got you covered. Locations online or locations around the state of Idaho, but check them out online at thespateam.com. Hey, the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. Get that Boise State gear. You want the official coaches sideline apparel. You want the hats. That clearance rack they have in the front of the store is the best value in town. You can go right in there, the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor next to Pro Image, or online. Order anywhere in the world at the Blue and Orange Store.com. Hey, Jackson's has that $5 meal deal going on. 2 hot dogs and kettle chips for $5. That's right, 2 hot dogs and kettle chips for $5 from our friends at Jackson's, and they have that 99-cent coffee going on anytime, day or night at Jackson's. 99-cent coffee anytime, day or night at Jackson's. And Mike can announce, please, that Jackson's is going to be providing some snacks at the golf tournament for all the golfers. So Jackson's will be sponsoring a hole, and they're going to have some nuts and some different snacks and things in all the goodie bags for all the golfers. So we appreciate Jackson's for stepping up, and they'll be providing snacks during the course for the golf tournament.
Snacks on a golf course. Nothing better than that, my friend. So nice to do that. Very much looking forward to that event in a couple weeks here, right?
Yes, we are coming up strong here. We're 2 weeks from Thursday for the happy hour event, 2 weeks from Friday, I believe, if I have my my dates correct on this, from the golf tournament coming up. It's we're looking forward to that, and we do have some spots left for that happy hour event. We got I think I told you this, right? Maybe I forgot to tell you, but we've got the happy hour event on Thursday, May 29th. You do not have to be part of the golf tournament for this. You just want to help a good cause. The Idaho Youth Sports Commission, $35 gets you a 2 hours plus event. You get to hang out, mingle with folks like Mike Prater and Jay Tust and John Mallory, and a lot of the coaches at BSU will be there. And you get to have pizza from Uncle Bob's Pizza. You get your beverages from Western Collective, Horseshoe Golden Ale. If you prefer a mixed drink or something, there is a cash bar for that. But we're providing the Horseshoe Golden Ale and the Orange Chaos Seltzer, I believe. But if you want some pizza, a couple drinks out in the beer garden, a nice evening. And the Q&A is going to be the coolest part. We did this last year, Mike. We had Leon and Spencer up there on stage. We do have Dirk Cutter coming. We're still working on Spencer Danielson, but we have Dirk Cutter and Leon Rice as our two kind of headliners for the Q&A. And, Jay Tuss was going to handle the Dirk Cutter Q&A. I was thinking maybe we surprise Leon Rice and let Mike Prater host the Leon Rice portion of the Q&A.
Well, Leon Rice and I are getting along pretty well these days. So we're kind of buddies. And so, maybe it was better back in the day when there was a little bit more angst in the relationship, but I would, whatever it takes, BJ. So I think it's a cool event, and having shown up last year, and the cool part for me was mingling with some of the boosters and some of the big names that I had not met before. I had a chance to meet the Atkinson family for the first time last year, and what a cool group of dudes there, and 3 or 4 other different guys that I had not met before. And it's a really cool experience, not only to network with Boise State fans and boosters and have a little snack, have a piece of pizza, hang outside, and maybe have a little bit of a drink, but certainly listen to what's going on stage. That Q&A that you moderated last year with Leon and Spencer up on stage, it was part entertaining, part fun, part educational. So it's a really cool event, guys. It's definitely worth every little penny, and it kind of gets you in the mood for the golf tournament the next day. So it's a fun experience. And Dirk Cutter, if he's back up there on stage this year, I'd rather be in the back throwing out kind of weirdo questions. I got all kinds of stuff that I can throw out there to Dirk. So we'll have some fun at that event for sure.
Here's the deal. We are going to pass the mic around, but maybe you can just kind of feed the questions to some guests or something, and kind of, we'll figure something out there. But last year was good. We only had about 75 people, though, because we kind of threw it together at the last minute, and we didn't have much space. That room wasn't the biggest room we were doing it in, so we had to limit it. We moved it to Western Collective's Brewery there in Garden City, and they've got an outdoor beer garden where it can host like 200-plus people. So
Yes.
We are blowing this thing up. It's going to be much bigger, much better. The entry fee for the golfers was included in this, so you're going to have, I would say, at least double the crowd, Mike. So it's going to be a bigger event. It's going to be better. You guys are going to finish your show and hustle over there at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we want to sell this thing out. So help raise money for a good cause. Come hang out. There's something fun to do. It's family friendly. If you want to bring your kids, I guess they're welcome. I don't know why not. Just come hang out. Western Collective Brewery, 6 o'clock, May 29th. We do have, as I said, tickets available. So looking forward to that. And hopefully you will join us 2 weeks from Thursday. Just email me, rains@bronconationnews.com. rains@bronconationnews.com, or send me a DM on Twitter or whatever. Reach out. We'll get you hooked up. You can pay via Venmo. We can invoice you. I'm looking forward to having that. So, all right, Mike, this whole conversation about the defensive line coincides, all the newcomers and all this with a new coach as well. We've talked a little bit about it, but a new coach, but a familiar coach. Bringing back Frank Maile along the defensive line, and he is listed as the assistant defensive line coach. Now they have that rule that you can have more than 10 coaches. He's a senior advisor, whatever, defensive analyst / assistant defensive line coach. I don't know what the official title is. I think it was actually changed to include assistant defensive line coach. But we were out there a lot at spring, Mike Prater, and having Eric Chenander and Frank Maile, two guys with Power 5 defensive line coaching experience, and a lot of it, both working at the same time with Boise State's interior defensive linemen. I mean, find me multiple schools on the West Coast or in this portion of the country that have the experience Boise State has along the defensive line. I mean, Frank Maile has been at an SEC school before. He has been at some big time spots in the Power Conference, and he's your assistant defensive line coach. And I stood over there at one of the practices on the indoor facility early on in camp and just watched both those guys work together. And the attention to detail and what having both those guys can do at the same time, working with the same group. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to keep saying it because I don't think you can overstate the impact having two guys like that is going to help on a young, or maybe at least inexperienced at Boise State, or a lot of new faces along that defensive line. I think having Frank Maile here is a big deal.
Oh, I think it's a monster deal. I definitely a monster deal. And you could just see him working his magic during spring ball. And, Eric Chenander is, he's a good coach. He's a good teacher. I love his mentality. I love his scheme. I love the way he pressures people. And I love the way he comes after it. But I think Frank Maile takes the individual coaching to another level. Just his approach. It's almost methodical. He sucks you in with that kind of Polynesian look. He's intimidating, so you're going to listen to every single word that he says. And then he gives you that look with his eyes, and his eyes are kind of magical in terms of just connecting with people and sending that message and making sure people understand that message. And the one-on-one coaching that he does, the group coaching that he does, the mentality that he gets into these guys' heads, especially if we're talking about Latu here, the Polynesian connection between these guys. And that connection is always powerful and very, very strong. So I think Frank Maile, not only based on what you said, his experience, his knowledge, but just the way he conducts himself, the way he is, the vibe that he puts out there is somewhat intimidating. It's football friendly in terms of just going out there and biting off heads and kneecaps and getting after it and doing what you have to do in a violent physical sport. But he does it in this methodical, beautiful way of communication that really kind of works. So Frank Maile checks a lot of boxes for me. I know we love him in the media. The players love him. Obviously, the coaching staff loves him. I think it's a massive fit. So if he's going to be the one developing these guys and doing his thing, and Chenander's got the big picture stuff, and he's going to be doing some developing too, and then all of a sudden you throw in Chenander and his aggressive scheme, I really think it's a beautiful combination.
And I know we've already put our list of 20 questions together. The next series after this, for most of June and July, leading into camp, we'll be more position-based and just bigger picture stuff in terms of, topics. And one of them is the continuity of this coaching staff. And you look particularly on the defensive side, they brought back the entire defensive coaching staff, a school that goes to the playoff. And I know on the offensive side, they all came back, but they just kind of, other than Dirk Cutter, and they kind of moved the titles around, but there's still a little bit of shuffling there with the OC and things like that. Yeah. On the defensive side, to bring back, Chenander, who had some my understanding, big-time interest from some Power 5 schools. I'm sure Scott Frost would have loved to have taken him back to UCF. There were some other schools I'm sure were interested, and he got a nice raise to stay. But to keep Chenander, to keep Stacy Collins, to keep, everybody on the defensive coaching staff, Jabril Frazier, and I know some people might, have their, whatever about the cornerback position, and the coaching there, but to bring back the entire defensive coaching staff and then add in a Frank Maile, and obviously Spencer Danielson's got his imprint all over the defensive side of the ball as well. What do you think, just big picture, the defensive coaching staff all coming back here?
Yeah, I mean, they need to. The defense needs to be better. The defense needs to be more consistent. And I think the defense was a frustrating part of this football team last year. Not that there was a lot of frustration because they had a phenomenal season, but we all saw the inconsistencies. I think this defense is really good. I think it's really good from the front. I think it's really good to the back. And they got really good players, and a lot of these players are coming back. I worry about the depth on defense. All 11 positions, all across the board. There is very, very little, if any, depth whatsoever right now, and that concerns me. But the experience of the 11 starters and the experience of this coaching staff, I think, is a hell of a good start for this offseason. I have high expectations for this defense, not to get better, but to get more consistent, which certainly makes you better. I'm tired of 2 great plays, and then you give up a big old boneheaded play, whether it's a big run or mostly it's a communication breakdown or a physical breakdown in the back end, and all of a sudden, you've given up a 30, 40-yard pass play that's just crippling, and it just doesn't work that way. So that happened far too many times last year. That was part execution players, part scheme coaches, and it was a combination of things that were frustrating. So they've got to get better, and I think they got the players, they got the experience. They didn't have a ton of turnover in terms of the starting 11. I know they lost some players, but I think that they were able to replace those. So for me, the expectations are for the defense to get better. The offense, I know we're going to have different conversations down the road, and I think that takes on a whole different personality, but this defense has to become more consistent across the board.
Hey, Lithia Ford of Boise, they're giving you away a free car at the golf tournament, by the way, hole 6. Mike Prater, just Uber out there and drive the new car home when you.
I would love that.
Lithia Ford of Boise at lithiafordboise.com. We talk NIL. We talk keeping guys like Cage Casey, Roger Carrion, Matt Lauder. Well, they're doing that in the NIL game by providing vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. They're also helping out some of the coaches, some of the administrators. You want to support one of the biggest supporters of Boise State athletics. It's Lithia Ford of Boise. Make them your stop for your next car truck purchase. View their full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Speaking of a big Bronco supporter, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. When you buy or sell a home with Matt, you get to meet everybody in the picture there. First-class service, unmatched. Bauscher Real Estate. He's now part of the Boise State home team. He's backing it up with a financial commitment. You looking to buy or sell a home? I know everybody has 5 realtors in town, but I highly recommend our friend Matt Bauscher at Bauscher Real Estate. Hey, Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. Shopridleys.com is where you can go to find a location near you, including Cuna, Middleton, Star, all across the Treasure Valley, the Magic Valley, and surrounding states as well. Almost 30 Ridley's Family Markets, I believe, in all. ShopRidleys.com and download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. And highly recommend that McCall location as you head up there for camping and for the weekends. Don't buy your stuff in Boise. Just take the empty cooler up there. Go to the Ridley's and McCall. Fill up, and you're on your way. Hey, transportation compliance service, you looking for a job? Well, maybe the trucking industry is where you should look, and if that's the case, then they can help you get all the paperwork, DOT, overweight, permits, everything you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. They're a local company helping out folks all over the world. You can do that online, transcompservice.com. Hey, Lean Feast, they're feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. They can feed you as well. LeanFeastMeridian.com. LeanFeastMeridian.com. Healthy eating options at Lean Feast. It's healthy, it's delicious, and just the convenience of it is the easiest. You can get it delivered, and it's good in your refrigerator for 5 days. You just pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and you're eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, you name it, 10,000 plus combinations. It's all fully customizable by the weight. It's fresh, not frozen. Highly recommend if you're looking for just the convenience and ease of eating healthy and eating easy at Lean Feast, LeanFeastMeridian.com. Had a great lunch, Mike Prater, last week with RJ Keene and the folks at Signature Roofing, making our plans for the RJ Keene Show presented by Signature Roofing that will start this summer and go through the basketball season. Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades, whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, an inspection. You can check it out online at mysignatureroofing.com. They also sponsor our voice inbox line, so if you want to leave a voicemail, BNN will play it on an upcoming broadcast. You just go to speakpipe.com/BNN. And Mike, we all know RJ Keene well, and I was really happy for him that he kind of had more of a on-the-court role. He was always a likable guy to talk to and interview and a fan favorite, but didn't necessarily see the court a ton. Last year became one of those glue guys and proved that, when he was out there, he made winning plays. I think he's got more in the tank in terms of scoring that they're hoping to see this year. But now that RJ Keene has become a little more of a impact player on the court, I'm looking forward to the RJ Keene Show presented by Signature. We all know RJ. I think Cody Gogler might be a little nervous about this show, but we're gonna do our best to keep it in the lines here. But that should be fun as the new replacement for the Tyson Degenhardt show.
Highly entertaining dude. Big sports fan. Lots of branches that you can go with that guy. So looking forward to the development of not only that show. That's big shoes to fill in terms of Tyson's show, but getting out there. And we had Leon on our show last week, and one of the things that he couldn't stop talking about was the expectations for him to become more involved with that offense. And I know that's been a narrative for a couple months now, but I think Leon Rice, just kind of reading between the lines, would be very disappointed if RJ Keene isn't pushing 6, 8, 10 points a game when it comes to scoring. Not necessarily as a starter, maybe off the bench. Who knows? We'll find out what that role is. But there's high expectations for Keene to shoot the ball more, like he did in high school, by the way.
Well, final thing I wanted to hit on here in our last 4 or 5 minutes, Mike. You guys had me on the show on Friday, and we did a year in review, just kind of looking back at mostly football and basketball, but Boise State as a whole. And I believe with the softball team losing over the weekend, unless I'm wrong, correct me, and maybe I'm forgetting one, but I believe they're all now Boise State sports are now all officially done for the spring season. Is there anybody I'm forgetting in terms of golf or?
I thought there were some individials in track and field. Maybe
track and field might have a few individuals, so I apologize. But the team sports, I believe, are all done for the 2024-2025 season. Yep. I know you talked about the 38 wins, I believe, a record for the football and basketball teams. But when you look at what some of these teams have done. I mentioned the soccer team winning the regular season championship. You had a lot of other sports, teams doing things throughout the different various sports and things. I mean, it was a very banner year for the athletic department. You really look at all the different things they did from start to finish in the smaller sports, not just football and basketball. So what do you make just in general of the football and the basketball and everything and all the sports? It was I know Jeremiah Dickey's not out there coaching the golf team and coaching the volleyball team and beach volleyball and stuff, but overall, this was one of the more successful years that the department as a whole has had in a while.
Yeah, and you can even go off the field as well, off the course, off the field, off the court, whatever you wanted to do in terms of some of the other intangibles, breaking ground on the $75 million North End extension. Another record year of fundraising. I think Jeremiah Dickey's 34 straight years of $20 million in terms of fundraising. I think last year maybe it was a record in terms of $23 million, certainly in that neighborhood of what they're trying to fundraise. So, in terms of navigating the NIL waters, navigating all the other stuff that's going on in college football, they came through pretty darn smooth. The individual efforts of the Tyson Degenhardts and the Sophia Knights and the Ashton Genties of the world, getting a first-round draft pick in the National Football League, certainly that was a big-time deal. Tyson now going off to try to build his own professional basketball career. I think it's been really fun and pretty spectacular. There's still a lot of things. I know gymnastics is looking for its first ever trip to nationals, and they're still always trying to do that. Softball probably was hoping for a little bit more expectations there. The rise of women's sports has been pretty good. So I think it's been pretty cool. How about all the facilities and the infrastructures? I remember 2 years ago when Leon Rice was complaining about missing light bulbs. Now they're putting lights around stadiums and they're doing all kinds of other infrastructure things. So, the process is in play. It's a dynamite machine that's going on down there. The success this year was pretty darn successful, but I would have a feeling that all those guys down there and gals have high expectations for the 25-26 season. So, there'll be no Genty, there'll be no Tyson Degenhardt. It'll look different, it'll feel different, but that doesn't mean the team success can't be just the same as it's been in the past.
And again, soccer won the regular season, gymnastics won the regular season, beach volleyball won the regular season and the postseason tournament. Got to play on ESPN2, for the first time ever for there. You had football obviously winning both regular season and postseason, getting in the playoff. Women's tennis won the tournament and then got that upset over Baylor in the first round of the tournament. That was pretty cool. Men's tennis got an at-large bid to the tournament, which doesn't happen very often. You mentioned Sophia Knight and what she's done. Cole Ruick, men's golf. He won the Genesis Invitational. And this is crazy to think, but he gets in the PGA Tour event in California later this summer. So a Boise State golfer is going to be competing in a PGA Tour event along, a current golfer while with some of the biggest stars in golf coming up. And you mentioned off the field, we should throw in the APR as well. They set records in the academic side with the APR and things like that and the graduation rate and all that. So it was kind of a banner year. And maybe this is a topic for another day because we're out of time, but maybe there's an obvious one I'm not thinking of, Mike Prater, but just kind of hit me. Like Ashton Genty, Tyson Degenhart, like who's the next face of Boise State athletics? Like there's been these just staples here for the last several years. And in particular, Tyson on the basketball side, Genty obviously emerged this year, but there's been some very recognizable faces that have just been, stars and any guys that walk around town, everybody know who they are. Maybe I'm forgetting an obvious one, but that changing of the guard this year, two of those guys at the same time, like who's that next guy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that next guy doesn't exist. I'll say where it starts with football and get a whole bunch of eye rolls from people. But Maddox Madsen, and we talked about this last week in Idaho Sports Talk, has to take that next level and become that public face, that public figure. I think the biggest goal of the entire 2025 football season, and this is what I said. I said the entire goal of 2025 for me is for Maddox Madsen to play well enough where you have to like him. I want him to win over the fans that really are still skeptical. If he goes out and plays great football and wins over the fans that don't believe in Maddox Madsen, that means it all comes together. That means he's playing well, the football team's playing well, the fans are feeling good about what they're seeing on the team, and all that kumbaya stuff is going to happen. So for me, it's about Maddox Madsen. Basketball, that's another great question. I don't know if that natural answer is there, certainly across the rest of the athletic department. I'm not sure it's there. That's why I said they can go off and be just as successful as they were last year. It's just going to look different. I don't think you're going to get these individual superstars. I don't think Maddox Madsen's going to get to the point where he's going to win over every single fan, even if he plays well and the football team plays well. And then basketball certainly has some limitations and some options there. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's definitely going to be different. Definitely.
Candid says it will be Maddox. He is better than we all realize. If he can take even a small step this year, he'll be a top 15 college quarterback. Not sure I go that high, but I do agree with him. I would say Peanut Carmichael has a chance for basketball. I mean, he's only going to be a sophomore this year. If he emerges as a star and they keep him for a couple of years, I could see Carmichael maybe being that guy on the basketball side. Final question, and I just gave you a whole weekly topic there for you on the show. Write that down. Final question, Mike, from Bronco 130. What club will both of you use on hole 8 at Timberstone? And that's over the water. And he says 165 yards. So he must be playing from the tips, which you got to go pretty much the whole way over water. I mean, it's you got to carry that thing, 150 plus yards over water. There's usually a little bit of wind there. There's some amazing houses out there behind the green.
Yeah, there is.
But hole 8 at Timberstone in a couple weeks, Mike Prater, what club you pulling out of the bag?
Yeah, because I don't think it's that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a little bit shorter than that.
Like 145, 150 probably, especially for the whites, where I think we're playing for the tournament.
Yeah, and I remember I always hit an 8 or a 9 iron there, 8 or 9 iron. So 8 or 9 iron. We'll stick with. We'll stick with like a little knockdown 8 iron. Hopefully, depends on the wind a little bit, and it can get a little windy out there. So 8 or 9 iron, and I'm going to put it 6 feet from the pin.
I don't have the muscles or the strength of the club speed that Mike Prater has, so I'm probably swinging an easy 7 there just to get it over the water. I get nervous about. I've had too many plunk in the water there that I usually end up on the back hill and hope it rolls back down because I just get too nervous, Mike, about hitting it in the water.
I saw my longest. This was the greatest This was the greatest athletic feat I saw over the weekend. I played golf over the weekend with my brother, and I saw the longest shot made in the history of my life. And I've been playing golf since I was about 5 or 6 years old. And my brother got an Eagle 2 with a 195-yard rescue club out there at Falcon Crest, popped it right in the hole. We spent 5 minutes looking for the damn ball because it was surrounded by a pond. couldn't find it, walked up to the cup, and there it was. So 195-yard shot. Didn't get to see it roll in the hole, but was there to witness everything else. And that's a pretty cool moment and always kind of fun to see on the golf course.
That's hilarious because at Falcon Crest, as I waste more time here real quick, but I was at Falcon Crest one time playing with a buddy. I think it was hole 2. It's a dog leg right. And I the same thing, it happened where I was probably 150, 160 yards out, and I shot it and I couldn't find my ball. And I actually thought it was someone go, oh, I think it went in. And we get up to the because you can't see the hole from there. It's kind of elevated a little bit. And I thought maybe it went in because I couldn't find it. And there's nothing worse than you think that your shot went in until you get up there and it was your partner's shot that went in. Oh. And so I went from thinking I had the eagle on the 4 to I think I like 3-putted and got a double bogey or something. So that was quite the, and it was like hole 2. So you're already ticked off about your round, thinking the emotional swing of thinking you plunked one from there, and then you get up there and it was actually your buddy, and he was the one going, I think yours went in. I'm like, were you just messing with me? Did you see yours go in? Like, come on. But
that's funny.
Josh, is Josh your brother?
No, Marcus.
Oh, so he said, Prater, I actually ran up and put the ball in the hole.
I don't think so, but nice try. And if it was for me, maybe. But my brother's actually a pretty good golfer, so he shoots par golf in the 70s. So he's had a couple of hole-in-ones. He's had a couple of those, but certainly that's pretty rare when I play golf.
Now, Mike, you said on last week's show that Jeremiah Dickey was coming on, and I believe that he's actually coming on tomorrow.
Correct.
Yes. Correct? Because then I was thinking I had him Thursday, and now it turns out I don't have him for 2 more weeks. But whether it's today, this week, I know you got Jeremiah Dickey tomorrow, but what we got going on Idaho Sports Talk?
Yeah, today we're going to dive into Kellen Moore, Ashton Genty, NFL camps over the weekend. All kinds of news, all kinds of reaction. Kellen Moore had his first camp press conference on Saturday. Ashton Genty, rock star all over the place when it comes to the Raiders. Pretty cool couple stories there. Ahmed Hassanin with the Detroit Lions making his kind of headlines and doing his thing. So we're going to have camp reports from all 3 of those spots live from New Orleans as well. And then Jeremiah Dickey with Ask the AD with JD tomorrow. We'll dive into a lot of these issues, off the field issues that we've just been talking about here on BNN Live. But, I know you got your series. We got our series. We're diving in hard. There is no break, BJ. We're diving in hard and having fun with Boise State sports.
Yep, and again, if you joined us late, they did announce it's a 1:30 Mountain Time kickoff. Boise State, Notre Dame on Peacock. They are on Eastern Time, Mike Prater. 3:30 locally there in South Bend. 1:30 Mountain Time for Boise State, Notre Dame on Peacock, afternoon game. And then we should find out in the next 2 to 3 weeks here if there's any other date changes or some of the kickoff times, networks and stuff for Boise State football here in the near future. So, Mike, appreciate it as always. We fooled them again, 51 minutes. So appreciate you, Mike. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck. We'll be listening today. Idaho Sports Talk 3 to 6, KTIK 95.3 The Ticket. Do what I do, folks. Download the app. That is the easiest way to listen to their show. If you missed the show live, you can go there on the Apple Podcast app. That's what I do. And there's Mike Prater and Johnny Mallory right there. We got to update the picture there for Johnny and you both. But you can download the app and listen day or night to Prater in the ball game and listen live 3 to 6 on KTIK.com or 95.3 FM 1350 AM. Thanks, Mike. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all of you for watching, your comments. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Jay Tuss, Bronco Nation News Live. But first, Idaho Sports Talk, 3 o'clock. This has been Bronco Nation News, presentation of rowpaint.com on a blue and orange store Monday. We'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News Live. We'll see you at bronconationnews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.